Hello, welcome to Intermediate Algebra for winter session. I am Professor Fort. I'm recording this video to give you an introduction to the course and also to give you an opportunity to see a face to let you know that over these next 4.5 weeks as we're studying Intermediate Algebra, there actually is somebody on the other end of the computer. I am teaching the course. I'm also the one that made all the videos for the course. So this introduction video is sort of like going through the things that we would go through on the first day of class, talking about the syllabus, course requirements, how things are going to be handled. And then I'll also walk you through Canvas because this is an online class. Almost everything we do except for taking a couple tests in the final will be done through Canvas, so it's important that you get a good feel for how the course is organized, especially since it moves so quickly. So yeah, it's an intense 4 weeks going through everything from graphing lines, and then by the time we get done, we're going to be graphing circles. And there's a lot in between that as well. So let's take a walk through, see how the Canvas course works, give you some familiarity with it, and give you an opportunity to sort of get a feel for how things go before we really start digging in to intermediate algebra. All right, so here's the Canvas course. Actually, here's all the courses. I figure if you got into the video, you made it through the first step, which is to find the winter 2025 intermediate algebra, and you click on that, and it brings up this. Now, I'm recording this about a week and a half, 2 weeks before the semester starts, so there's things on here that might change a little bit, and there's a couple of gaps that I need to fill in, but for the most part, this will look exactly like what you see on your end once everything is published for you. So the very first thing that you have already up there is the winter session course information and the draft of the schedule. That'll be gone by the time the course opens because you won't need that anymore. Once I get done recording this video, I'll replace the video from last winter session with the new one. So in the first module, that's what we call these things. If you're not familiar with Canvas, these modules open and close. So if I close the module, you can see that basically I have another module set up for every day of the course all the way down to the end, including a review for the final exam. And then the Brightwave thing is if you purchase the material through our college bookstore, it gives you a code to put in through Brightwave. But those are the modules that are closed. You see the little arrow, you click on them and open. So I put the course intro video and the syllabus right up at the top. I'll also have some course information. A lot of that will be stuff that I cover in the video, except in written form, because sometimes it's nice to reference it if you only need one little piece of information, rather than trying to remember where in the video you saw this. Just go look through the course information, some quick discussion guidelines, little things like the withdrawal and refund schedule. I've got to change the MyLabs. MyLabs is now called Access Pearson, and I'll show you how to use that in just a second. So if you click on the syllabus, it'll bring up the syllabus here. I got a copy of the syllabus as well, and we can take a look at it. So my name, my office, it's winter session, it's online, so I'm not going to be in that office very much. As we need student hours or office hours, we can always do them on Zoom. And I mean, there may be days like on the day of a test or something, I may say I'm going to be in my office for a couple hours if you want to come in before you take the test and ask questions. So the best way to contact me is using the Canvas email tool, right? It says it highlighted, bold, especially during winter session when I'm not in the office much, I'm not reading my regular Raritan Valley email. The email through Canvas is much better because I'll be on Canvas every day during winter session. So you can see on the left-hand side, there's a thing that says inbox. If I click on the inbox, it'll bring up my mail. So I actually have a message. So here, I'm going to slide this over because I don't want you to see what's actually in my inbox. What it'll do is it'll put the messages on the left and then a blank space on the right. So here, I'm going to slide it over just enough. Okay. You'll see messages on the left-hand side, right? That's what that bar is for. If you want to send a message, you hit the thing that says compose, like you're a composer, and it'll pull up a screen like this. You select the course, so you would select Winter 2025 Intermediate Algebra, and then you could type my name. You can also just click on the box to drop off a list of everybody in the class. So you can email other students through there too. So again, this is the best way to send me messages. Messages that were sent to the other address. Eventually I'll get to them, but especially in a course that moves as fast, you want to get to me as quickly as possible, especially if there's some sort of an issue. Or you have a question, you need help. That's how to find me. All right, so that's the first thing. Class meets asynchronously. There's a student resource page here. We finally got one set of policies for the whole college. So you click on the thing that says RVCC Student Resources, and it has everything on there from just statements like our commitment to diversity. There's technical support on there, alternative formats in Canvas if you need that sort of help. There's a tutoring center, right? Tutoring center is not open every day during winter session, but especially once we get back in the beginning of January, they'll be back to more regular hours. Information about the testing center is right there. There's a student handbook, different college policies, things about delayed openings, withdrawal from courses, and academic integrity, and so forth. So all of that is on the RVCC Student Resources page, which one thing that does is it makes the syllabus a lot shorter because I don't have to put like 6 pages of policies in there. All right, the textbook is the Roxwald book. It's the same one if you took elementary algebra. It's the same textbook as that one. You do need to buy a new access code to it. You'll need the MyMathLab. You don't necessarily need the paper book. I mean, if you want it, you can have it, but really, I'm convinced that the MyMathLab access is plenty, unless you're somebody that absolutely wants a paper book. So if you go into the Canvas course, you'll see on the left-hand side it says Access Pearson. That's how you link up the Canvas course with the MyMathLab course. You have to do it through Canvas, otherwise it won't recognize the textbook and it won't recognize that you're in this class. So when you click on Access Pearson, so if I do it now, I'm going to get a thing that just redirects me to open Pearson. You'll probably get something that asks you, do you want to log in? So if you have a Pearson account, log in with that Pearson account, and because it's coming from my Canvas course, it'll know what textbook to bring up for you. And then if you bought the code through the bookstore, you can enter the code there. If you need to purchase it online, you can purchase it online. And I think a lot of them have the option that if you click down the bottom, there's something that says, give me a 2-week trial. So if you're kind of on the fence, am I going to stay, am I not? Try that 2-week trial rather than pay for the whole book. But eventually at some point it will come back and say, all right, 2-week trial's over. Now you got to pay for the book. All right, so we open MyLab and Mastering. And what'll happen eventually once you link it up is you'll be able to go right into Canvas and open up an assignment. That's actually another way that you can get there rather than go through Access Pearson. Just go to the first homework, which is not open, so it's going to come up as you can't take it yet. All right, but you click on it and it says open to see your content. And yes, because I'm recording this, a week and a half ahead of time, it's not there. But if it were ready, it would bring up the actual problems, and then you can just click on it. So you can, once you link them, then you can go in through MyMathLab directly and do the problems that way, right? If you click on the homework assignments, it'll bring you, well, it doesn't bring me any because I don't have any homework to do, but it'll bring you up a whole list of assignments. The other thing you can access through this is the textbook. Okay, so there's the HTML ebook. That's one version of the textbook. All right. The other version of the textbook is found where it says eText. All right, so the eText looks like an actual textbook. The HTML version is more geared towards if you're looking through it on a phone or an iPad or something like that. That's not a regular computer. This one is more for working on a computer, plus the pages match up, right? The pages in here match up with the pages in the paper textbook. All right, so we start with Chapter 3. If you want to see what Chapter 3 looks like, all right, that's what the textbook looks like for Chapter 3. Now, the actual homework assignments you're going to do are all done through MyMathLab. There is a list on Canvas that I put of different problems if you want some additional practice, right? It says problem list, intermediate algebra. That's if you want some additional practice from a section, like something that goes beyond just doing the MyMathLab work. I'm thinking in a winter session, for the most part, the MyMathLab is going to be enough. But if there's something that you're working on and you are struggling, and you get near the end, you're like, all right, I think I got this now, but that was the last problem. Do you have any that I can try to see if I really have this? Yeah, then go look through the problem list and I'll give you some ideas. And they all match up with the textbook. Right? Then now that you've got access to the textbook, you know where the homework problems are. There is no MyMathLab course ID back in the old days before we linked it to Canvas. I mean, technically, yes, MyMathLab creates a course ID for every course, but like I said, don't try to search it out. Otherwise, your grades won't sync. That's the issue. The material to be covered includes everything from graphing equations all the way through circles and conic sections. You're going to find that probably a lot of this is review, but you're in this course because there's some things that you still need additional practice on. So even though we cover a lot of material, my hope is that you're not seeing all of this for the first time, that there's going to be certain things in the course that you breeze through and you're like, yeah, why isn't this course? I know this already. Good. Then the next chapter you might get to and go, oh, yeah, I need a little help with this. Or it could be something you've simply not seen before, and that's where you're going to put your time and effort into. So it's not going to be that every chapter is going to be the same level of difficulty for every person. It can differ, except for factoring. People struggle with factoring. So hopefully we'll get good at that before the end of the semester. There's a list of student learning outcomes, things you're going to know. The rule in general in the college is that for every hour you spend in class, you should spend 2 hours outside of class. Now, this course is online, so you're both learning the material and practicing it all at the same time. So in a 14-week semester, you would spend about 4 hours in class and 8 hours outside of class, so that's 12 hours. In a 4-week class, it's going to be more like 35 to 40 hours a week. So this is a commitment, right? It's a very fast-paced course. Last day to withdraw for the semester, Friday, January 3rd. Right after that, there's no withdrawals. If you have accommodations of any sort, you need to get me the accommodations letter as soon as possible. And that's important early in the semester because the college is only open for a couple of days after this course starts. And then it closes for the week of Christmas and into New Year's. And then doesn't come back till I think January 2nd. I'd tell you if I had a 2025 calendar in my house right now, but I don't. So I think it's actually January 2nd. It's a Thursday that we all come back. Grades. A lot of this is going to be based on tests, right? 45% tests. There's 3 tests in the course. Then my math lab, homework, discussions, and then the final exam. All right, so the tests. How do the tests work? Well, the first test falls during the break. And so rather than jamming all the tests into a couple of weeks in January, the first test is actually going to be done on Canvas. So you're going to have a 2-hour window somewhere between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., and you're going to sit down and take the test online. Now, in order to help all of our sanities while we do this, what I did is I created a template sheet for you to answer the questions. All right, so if you go down into test number 1, you see the thing that says test 1 work and graph page. So if you open that up, and I haven't updated this yet, but if you open it up, there's a spot for work and graphs for test 1. So you notice 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5, 6, 7, and 8 must all be graphs. Some of them have intersection points. There's some space for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then that's it, because the rest of them are all multiple choice. And so the multiple choice, you can just grab a couple pieces of paper from your house and sit there and work them out. That I don't need to see the work for, but I do need this specific page printed out so that you can use this, and then you're going to scan the work at the end and send it to me. All right, the other tests will all be taken in the testing center. And so test 2, test 3, and the final exam are done in the testing center. So you notice when test 2 comes around, there's a link in here to book your appointment in the testing center. So the testing center only books them a couple of weeks out. So if I open this now, you'll see what day I'm recording this. All right, so I'm actually recording on the 8th. So if I wanted an appointment tomorrow, here's all the list of times. Now you notice the times are in 5-minute increments. The test is not 5 minutes long. So this is just the time that you're going to check in, meaning that if the testing center closes at 6, don't make an appointment after like 3:55 because it's going to take a few minutes to check in. Then you'll take the test from 4 to 6. If you show up at like 4:30, then you're not going to get the full time for the test. So let's say I'm a really good student. I'm going to take my test right at 10 in the morning. That's not an option. Okay, I'll take it at 9:55. When I do that, it's going to ask me for first and last name, email, phone number, reading the testing center policies. Where it says, what exam are you testing for? You're just going to pick faculty exam, meaning that you're not taking a placement test. You're not taking an ESL test or anything like that. You're taking an exam that I give you. And then, of course, you got to put my name. My last name is Forte. Nice and easy to spell. Okay. Now, what happens if you forget to make an appointment? That's okay. They'll take you. It's just that it's easier if they know that like a lot of people are coming on a certain day. They'll try to make sure they have an extra like part-time staff member down there to help so that there's not a long line of people to check in. All right, so the first couple days are going to be a little bumpy. You're going to be getting used to a very fast-paced course after you just finished the whole fall semester. But once you get into the groove of things, I think it'll work a little bit easier. So at the beginning, I've got all kinds of introduction and instructions. I got graph grids if you need some graph paper. The first discussion is due the first day. It's easy. Tell me something about you. So I put a little introduction about myself. You're going to tell me, what your program of study is, anything specific, some fun fact, how come you're taking the course in winter session, and if you've taken an online class before, and even if you've taken an online winter class before, what kind of advice do you have for your classmates? And I find that's always one of the more worthwhile questions to put in that discussion because, I can say lots of things here in this introduction video, but sometimes hearing something from your peers and hearing specifically what worked for them and what not to do sometimes is helpful as well. All right, so the videos for each section, like the 3.1 to 3.4 videos, are supposed to be review. So my suggestion for that first one is try the homework first, right? Those 3 things that say review section. Try that homework first, and if you get stuck, then go see the videos. Otherwise, you should be fine with that. When you get to the stuff on Thursday, though, I would definitely watch the videos first, then do the homework, right? Videos first, then homework. The discussions usually have a couple of questions for you to answer. And the way I set it up is this. Post your initial response. And once you post your initial response, you'll be able to see everybody else's responses, unless, of course, you're the first one. Then it gives you an opportunity to look at other people's work and go, ooh, that's interesting. I didn't do it that way. And then you can comment on each other's responses. So you might say, and you might even look and say, oh, that person switched the X's and the Y's, and you can make a comment. You might take a look at number 3. I think you switched the X's and the Y's. Of course, we're going to be nice to each other. We're not going to yell at each other and put people down, but it is a nice opportunity to exchange. And then you can do the same thing. If you go, oh, now I see I didn't do that one right, then you can reply to your own post by the final deadline. So the point is, it's to your advantage to post early, because then you'll have more time to look around and get suggestions and give suggestions. If your first post is like 3 minutes before it's due, there's not going to be enough time to take a look around to see, because, somebody did it different than you doesn't mean you're wrong and they're right. So it does take some time to figure that out. So don't wait until the very last minute. All right? These are the links to the My Math Lab homework. Sometimes I put the weekend along with it too. You'll see the due dates down the bottom. So I may have assigned this on December 19th, but it's not going to be due until December 20th. And you can get some gauge for like the assignment length by looking at the points, right? Each problem is worth a point. Now, if you've done this before, sometimes some problems are longer than others, but that should give you a feel for what's in there. Right? The first test, again, is done on Canvas. I have instructions for the test. I'll update those. When you open up the Canvas test, it'll again remind you to print out that sheet of paper. You got to print out that sheet of paper. That's how I'm going to grade the test. And then you open up the test and start it. Once you open the test, the clock starts for 2 hours. And at the end, the very last question will ask you to upload your work. And so you upload your work. So here, we'll see who actually watches these videos. I'll preview the actual test, right? So when I start the test, as the first question says, find the slope of the line. So it says answer is a simplified fraction. So you'll come over to your work paper. You'll show the work here. You'll box your answer at the end. But then go in here and type the answer. So I don't know, if it's 12/17, then you type in 12/17. Okay. Some of them will just have a big blank space, right? So some of them, like this one, will say graph the line, and then there's just a big empty space there. Well, that's because you're going to come over here for number 5, and you're going to graph the line on this paper. So at the very end of this test will be a spot that says upload your work. Right? Upload your work as a single Word or PDF file. So please don't send me HEICs and stuff like that, and my computer doesn't know what to do with them. So put everything together as one single Word or PDF file and upload it. And if something happens in the uploading process, a window closes before you're done, send it to me immediately by email. Please don't wait like a day and then send it, because then I have no idea whether you spent the rest of the time working on the problems and talking to each other, or you just honestly ran out the door, did something, came back and went, oh yeah, I never sent that test. So if something happens right away, send me something so that we can figure out what to do with it. All right, what's left on the syllabus? The discussions, oh yeah. Please don't ask ChatGPT to make your responses to a discussion post. Every once in a while it'll slip by, but I'm getting pretty good at figuring out which ones are actually done by a human and which one are done by a computer. So, plus, you're not going to learn how to do stuff if you just ask the computer to do it. Policy on makeup work, if you're not here for a test date or something like that, the homework and stuff is due when it's due, especially in a tight class like this. If there's something extreme that prevents you from doing the assignment, please let me know right away. I might ask for some sort of a documentation. I had a stomach ache, I need one more day on something. All right. But, if you're missing a test or something like that, then I'm going to need something a little bit more than that. So I would print out these last 2 pages because, look at how nice of a job I did organizing everything. So I got the date, we got the topics we're covering, and then unless it says otherwise, what's in that last column is due at 11:59 that night. So Wednesday night is when the intro discussion is due. Thursday, you should put your first post in the Chapter 3 discussion. There is an optional My Math Lab orientation assignment. If you have never used the program before and you want to try it out for the first time, try out the orientation first. It doesn't count towards your grade, so if you've already used this before, save yourself the 15 minutes and just go on to the problems. All right, so on Friday, there's a couple of things due, right? There's a set of assignments due, there's a discussion post due, and then I also put some stuff due on Sunday night. Okay? And it goes through. You'll see test 1 is online. That's on the 27th. We do not have any class on Christmas Day, and we do not have any new activities on New Year's Day. Now, the course will be completely open by the time the first day of class comes. So if you find yourself a little bit ahead of a little bit, with some time on your hands and you want to get ahead of schedule a little bit, that's perfectly fine. And I will probably be catching up on grading stuff during those days anyway. Well, not Christmas, but maybe on New Year's. Test 2, you're going to take in the testing center on campus. I think they're open from 9 to 6 on that day. So that's when you take test number 2. Test number 3 is on Monday the 13th. And then I will open up the final exam in the testing center on the 16th. And you can take it either the 16th or 17th. And then that is the end of that semester. So in Canvas, right, these modules open and close. You can see I got some for each day. When you get down to the end, sometimes I'll put little information bits on the top of each of the modules. Sometimes I don't. If it's fairly obvious that we're just moving through a set of new material, I'll figure that you can follow along the syllabus. And then the very last thing includes exam information, practice problems, an answer key, and then a reminder to take the final exam. I guess the other thing I'll mention is this menu bar on the side. I talked about the student resources, Access Pearson. People just brings up a list of everybody in the class. So if you're curious who else is in the class, if maybe you've worked with somebody in another course before and you want to form a study group with them, click on people, you'll see a list of all the people. I will post announcements from time to time, right? Especially in an online course like this is how I communicate. So if I need to communicate to everybody, I will post an announcement. You might go into your Canvas settings and have the announcement sent to you somewhere. So wherever you read them, when I get push notifications on my phone through the Canvas app. There's a Canvas student app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you should, because you can get announcements that way. You can also have them sent to your Raritan Valley email. I might send it to your personal email. I'm not sure. The syllabus is just another copy of, surprisingly enough, the syllabus, right? So there's a syllabus. Yes, it sounds funny, but this is winter 2025, even though it starts in 2024. What the Canvas syllabus does is it just lists out all the assignments on the date that they're due, right? So you can follow along and see what date each of those things are due, and then the PDF copy of the syllabus is up there. Grades is exactly what it says, grades. And so you can track your grades. I'm usually pretty good at keeping up on grading things, and so you should be able to track your grades for the semester so that by the time you get to the end of the semester, there's no surprise as to, oh, what kind of grade did I have? I wasn't paying attention. If you keep track of it, a little bit at a time, then if something doesn't look right or something happens and the grade goes down, then it gives you some time to follow up, get some help, do some studying. Don't wait until the very last minute. All right, so thanks for being part of this winter session course. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Go on to Canvas, click on that inbox, and then drop me an email and let me know. Thanks a lot.